I'm Erin Master-Pietro, joined alongside Michael Benatar, and this is the Call Me Crazy podcast, where we interview inspiring leaders like today's guest, Claire Bahn, who is the CEO and co-founder of the Claire Bahn Group. She's a personal branding strategist. She's been helping entrepreneurs, investors, like you in our audience for over 10 years help grow their personal brand, and we're really excited to talk about that today. So Claire, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So this is something I've been bringing up to Erin a lot. I'm trying to work on my personal brand. So I was really excited to have you on because this is something we've been trying to do a little more of. We do know it's important.
It's not always easy.
How did you get into this first? And then we can kind of like dive into like me asking you a lot of questions and how to get my personal brand better.
Interestingly, I mean, I have a background in marketing and events, working in New York City. And I decided I always wanted to be an actress. I always had that drive in me. And I decided, you know what, I'm in New York and I need to give it a go. So I did. And what I lacked in experience, I had in marketing experience. So I knew, especially for commercials and print modeling, that I would be able to really kind of define my brand, because that's really important. When a casting director gets your headshot, they could say, oh, this person is great for this role or whatever. So from there, I was, booking national commercials and things like that. I started branding other actors. And then about 10 years ago, I started a company called Online Profile Pros. And we help people basically brand people for online dating and LinkedIn. So we help people, if you are looking for a job, we can get you, new headshot, beef up your resume and your LinkedIn profile. If you're online dating, we help you with, again, a profile, your written profile and your photo. And we also have dating coaching. So that from there, I was going out talking about it all the time. I was working on getting funding. I was up in San Francisco and I was speaking with Jason Calacanis, who's a pretty well-known angel investor. And essentially on his podcast, he came up with the idea. Literally, that is how Claire Bahn branding and everything. He's like, you know what? You need to brand high net worth individuals. Like, what? He's like, yeah, you need to like up level it, and that's what you need to do, because that's essentially what you're doing on a lower level, but you need to like step up your game for all of these, executives and people like that. So that's a bit essentially how it started. And literally from that podcast, I had people talking to me, setting up consultations, saying, hey, we want to work with you. And I'm like, I don't even have like a plan in place.
That's amazing. I hope we can bring some insight almost as good as that.
What year was that? Because I feel like you were so ahead of your time back in 2010. Because even then, like online dating wasn't like a thing. It was maybe there, but maybe Match.com, but it wasn't Tinder and everything like that. What year did you and Jason have a conversation where it's like, that's what it will be?
Is it 2019?
Okay, so just recently you talked. Okay, that's because I was gonna say, like, your idea fits so well now because now everybody's online, and back then it was like more like nerdy people, I guess. Like I was online, like I had Twitter, and like not everybody was there, and now everybody is online.
Right. Well, I mean, it really just evolved. I mean, back from when I was acting, a lot of people weren't on and they realized that they had to be, because literally you were booked on jobs based on if you were an influencer or not, like how many followers you had on Twitter and that kind of thing. And it's just all really just kind of gone from there. Everybody, especially now, especially starting into like really in 2020, we had a lot of people coming to us and they're like, I used to always do, in-person networking events, and I would go to conferences, and I can't do that anymore. Help. Because I have no visibility.
How bad were some of these profiles that you were taking from maybe higher tier people with a high net worth? Because I can imagine. So for some reason, when I always think of like big businesses that make a ton of money, the last thing they do is care about their website. It's like, I make billions of dollars, but I'm going to have a 1995 Windows like looking website. How bad were these when you first got them?
It's like bad. It's sometimes like so bad that you're just going like, God, how do I tell this person that they have a degree from MIT, an MBA from Wharton? Like, how do I tell them that like their presentation sucks? How do I, that's kind of one of the biggest problems, but that's why people come to me. And I always preface it and saying, hey, listen, it is not personal. You hired me because you want to step up your game, and this is how we're going to step up the game. And literally, it's partially about being polished. And I mean, literally during some of this stuff, during last year, we were just like, okay, we got to get someone to come to your house and cut your hair, because we can't do videos with you looking like this,
Yeah.
So literally my clients in LA, my stylist was doing house visits, and I booked him for a couple of my clients. Because I was like,
call me until you get a haircut.
no, because they would start getting really upset. They're like, I can't shoot my videos that we have, because we shoot it kind of like this. We on a different platform, but I basically I have my little control center on my iPad, and I'm controlling how the video is done, and we start recording. And they were like, my male clients were like, I haven't had a haircut in 3 months. This is insane. I look awful. It's a
Michael went through that a couple months ago. He was going to grow his hair out for a year. Yeah.
It was the quarantine haircut. You just let it, there was no haircut.
But then one day we woke up and realized it's not good.
So with all of that, what are the people doing right away? What are the quick fixes that people can do? Because Aaron and I just took the scores. Aaron got a 60. I got a 70.
We took your quiz. The quiz. How good is your personal brand?
So there's on your website, clairebahn.com, you can go there. There's a quick little quiz you can take, see where you're ranking. Now, is LinkedIn a big emphasis on it? Because for me, I'm not on LinkedIn. So that was the one part where I was like, I kind of do TikTok. I'll go dance a little.
Yeah. Well, if you look at really the people that I help, executives, entrepreneurs, investors, founders, if you're not on LinkedIn and that's you,
I know,
literally, where have you been?
Who are you?
Yeah. So we really tailored that. My co-founder has an MBA, so he's really good at the if-then statements. So he really defined that whole thing. But yeah, it's so important, because that's really where your people are.
Yeah,
they're sitting there on LinkedIn. So until fairly recently, the last few years, I really put no effort into LinkedIn myself. So I definitely it's just
part of it. You got to do it now. It's
you really do.
The Pulse. You're one of the questions was, have you posted an article on LinkedIn Pulse TV or something versus regular LinkedIn? Because I post articles on LinkedIn, but I know there's a right way to do it. And I haven't even heard of LinkedIn Pulse.
Yeah, LinkedIn Pulse is where you can actually, if you don't have your own blog or something, you can actually write a blog on LinkedIn, and it can get spidered. LinkedIn can sometimes actually promote it themselves if it's a really good article, and they've it's been doing really well. So it's their version of Medium.
Okay, got it.
And is it SEO friendly? Can people find it when they're searching online?
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. So for yourself, what are the things that you're kind of keeping up on to keep your personal brand? Because it's really hard to keep a personal brand. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people out here listening kind of have a personal brand. And for myself, I know it's hard. It's hard posting. It's hard writing. It's hard getting on camera. What are you doing?
I mean, all of it.
Story on podcast.
No, I know. But what are the key things that you kind of keep in mind daily to remember to do? And because sometimes it's overwhelming when you have to post.
People hire me to help them with their personal brand, and I have a staff. My staff helps me. So I have a couple of people that are basically part of the Claire Bahn branding, and they're part of the machine, and they really do help me magnify my voice. So that is key. I mean, you can't when you're starting to really leverage your personal brand and really taking it to the next level, and people see you everywhere, it's likely that person's not doing it themselves. It's because it's absolutely impossible. I couldn't do anything else if that's all I was doing.
That's a good point.
So that's one of the biggest things. A lot of people aren't willing to admit that. I'm willing to admit it. But that's why, obviously that's why people hire me, is because I was already doing it for myself, and people are like, what are you doing? I need that for me. Yeah. So, basically it's really about kind of planning. We have, my team, we always have strategy meetings. Excuse me. like, what are we, what are we going to talk about this week? And a lot of it is related to like kind of SEO and what are people asking? What are the answers people want? And let's figure out, let's create content around them with those answers so that we can be, their solution. That's how a lot of people find me, is they do searches and they find a video or they find a blog or something that I did. So, I mean, ultimately it's the most ideal thing your personal brand can do for you is not only if someone does a Google search on your name that they find you, it's also when someone's, searching for something and they need this answer right now. I'm desperate. I need to figure out how to create a personal brand statement.
Yeah.
That's actually one of my top blogs, and people find the blog. It gives you great information. I backed it up with a video. I give you tips on how to do it. I lay it all out. And that's like the biggest thing too. You can't just create content and have it really just not be very good. It's just fluff, right? So you can't create fluff. You have to give some people something meaty that really helps them, and then they start to kind of like you. They may follow you on social media. They may subscribe to your YouTube channel. They may reach out to, set up a consultation. So that's ultimately what your personal brand can do for you to try to take you to that next level. And that's what we do with our clients. And that can be an executive, an investor, founder. Essentially, you just want to show up when people are looking for something that you do.
How do you navigate what channels to focus on? Because sometimes it feels like we have to be everywhere. And then sometimes you need to know, like, I can only feasibly tackle these one or two channels. Is it industry specific, or is it just like what you're best at? That's really challenging.
Okay. Well, so Michael, you mentioned TikTok. So my people aren't on TikTok.
Not on TikTok.
They're not on TikTok. I do, like the reels and stuff on Instagram. Like, I don't know, if I'm going to really put a lot of effort, I'm not going to put it there, because my ideal clients are not hanging out on TikTok. They're not waiting for my next reel on Instagram. So I was more focused on Instagram because I used to love Instagram. I used to do more lifestyle type stuff. Yeah. But I have moved away from that platform because my people are looking for answers on YouTube and Google, and LinkedIn. I also use Twitter for community building. I am on Clubhouse. I haven't used that one quite as to probably its full advantage, because again, it's like, it's that one more thing. And that one is literally like on my phone. And I have to do it. And I'm like, I just don't have the time.
And so
it's so funny how Clubhouse weaves its way into every podcast recently. It's happening.
But with all that, because I guess I'm thinking about it as, okay, if I'm an investor, of course you need to be on LinkedIn, and of course you need good SEO so you pop up. Is there something to that though, like the supplemental content on TikTok? Because I can go viral overnight, and not that like these kids or whoever's watching me do a dance or review like some awesome website I found. Is there something to that though? Because for me, it feels like it, but I don't know if it even, like, in the end, it might not matter. But
I don't know what particularly that particular thing you're talking about, but let's just give an example of like an angel investor, because we have angel investors that work with us. So basically, the companies that they have helped, have helped fund, Coinbase, Lime, the scooter, like the e-bikes. And if you think of like kind of like those companies, right? Are those companies, like the founders and people like that, are they searching for answers on TikTok?
Absolutely not.
So you know what I mean? Because essentially it's like they could find you and be like, oh, look at this funny investor doing a dance on TikTok. That's kind of odd. I just don't know how it would help. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the 13-year-old could be like, "Mommy, look." I don't know.
I guess
I just don't. That's like the reality of the situation. You may enjoy TikTok and do it. Nothing's stopping you from doing it. Go viral. Who cares? If that's what you want to do, if that's what you enjoy doing, do it. but
Yeah.
remember where your ideal clients are and
Mhm.
where your ideal audience is. And that is where you need to be showing up and
Yeah.
really giving it your all. If you want to do a TikTok dance because that is your like, happy place
It is
and
not my
you
happy place,
love
no.
doing it. No, but maybe for somebody it is like, I
Yeah.
do have a dance background. I grew up, dancing. And so if that's something I wanted to do in my downtime, then that would be different than me
Mhm.
trying to convert those into actual sales for my
For sure.
business.
Yeah, and
But some people can do it. I mean, I think it's more kind of B2C that kind of
Mhm.
works in that space, not really
Yeah.
B2B.
Yeah, and I guess that's where we are more. Like our company is more direct to consumer, and that's where I
Mhm.
was going towards more. And I guess I
Yeah.
was just thinking about, everybody talks about Gary Vee, but he is
Mhm.
everywhere and he posts content
Yeah.
everywhere. And I'm not saying that
Right.
his TikTok content is original content, but I think
Yeah, it's not.
it
Yeah.
feels like it's something that obviously he took from a YouTube video and clipped it down multiple times into all the
Right.
platforms. But that to me felt, I don't know, it felt real. But the LinkedIn thing, I need to get started on because I see the value in it, because that is
Mhm.
where we want to find more people. And actually, when we were we were trying to find some VCs to invest in our company, and we were on LinkedIn, we were messaging people, talking to people on there all the time. And if we were just popping up in their feed and doing everything like that,
Mhm.
I think it would be even more worth it, because there's so many networks and Facebook is just like, I don't get it, but people love Facebook groups and
Yeah.
so many Facebook groups.
Um, I know that I've gone also away from. One of the biggest things for me was kind of that like December timeframe when that latest algorithm for Instagram came out, where it was like I could basically get any bit of information about you all
Oh,
over the world. Yeah. Like so, basically, if I'm on my Wi-Fi network, they can get on my computer, any computer that's on the network. Like
whoa.
that was like whoa. So literally, we have like a separate network in our house that just does anything Facebook related. It doesn't touch our major network because I'm like, no,
Wow.
that is creepy. This is actually, yeah. So it's like stuff like that I've gotten kind of
Hmm.
like, and LinkedIn doesn't seem to do that kind of thing. Google, I mean, I just, for me, I want to balance my privacy,
Sure.
my literal privacy,
Mhm.
and my business. And for my clients, that's exactly where they are. They're like, I'm okay with this to a point, but once we start getting into crazy town where my phone is turning on, where I might be dressing, now you've gone into this whole creepy world that I want nothing to do with.
What?
So that's where I don't know. That's the kind of thing about some of those networks
Yeah.
that scare me a little bit.
What was that update? When did that come out? That was just like
It
just this last few months?
December.
Huh.
A lot of people were talking about it. Yeah.
I
I don't
think
know.
that
It's kind of a
explains why
gray thing. You
everything's
don't
just
really know exactly what the strange language means, right?
Mhm.
You're like,
Yeah.
but it could mean everything or it could
Mhm.
mean nothing. So, right? But it's
Yes.
gray for a reason. It's vague and for a reason.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I would just rather, yeah. So I personally stepped back from Facebook and Instagram myself for
Yeah.
those
Mhm.
reasons.
Mhm. I do
And I
find
find, well, I also find I feel better about
Yes,
myself. God,
for sure.
yeah.
like I
Yeah.
don't. I feel like on LinkedIn and YouTube and some of these other channels, like it's just not like such a brag fest.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's all so different now. Like Instagram feels very polished and Facebook is just like this weird place for, I don't know who's on Facebook anymore,
But
but
LinkedIn
I
feels
know.
real and you can really get through
yes.
to people and
Yeah.
messaging people directly. I was so surprised at the positive response that we got. And
Hmm.
people are so willing to help you and listen and
Hmm.
answer. It's good. I think it's really good for the business space for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think that there are people doing business in Facebook groups and things like that, but I your most important home online is definitely should be your website
Mhm.
because that's what you own. That is yours. No one can take it away. The Instagram algorithm can't, start tanking your content. LinkedIn can't block you,
Yeah.
like so ultimately owning your space online and working on your own content is going to be, to me, I think is the most important thing.
So yeah, let's dive into that a little bit because for any of the naysayers out there that don't believe they need to have a personal brand,
Hmm.
um, we need to talk about why that's not true anymore.
Yeah.
And second question, what would that look like, the website? Because I took your quiz and I don't have a website. I don't have Erin Masterpietro or soon to be ErinBenatar.com. And how can I weave that in to make sense for what I do day to day? Like, I'm the co-founder of a dog treat company, but I didn't think I should have my own website. Whereas Michael had a website, michaelbenatar.com, from a prior career he had doing photography.
I've had my website since 1997.
Okay, he's one of the nerds, but I'm not. I don't have that. So how do you weave it in, or how does Michael update his to be relevant to what we're doing now as entrepreneurs?
You should always have your website. It doesn't matter. Just have it.
You do. Okay.
Just go and buy it, even if you're just sitting on it. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It really, I mean, it costs you like $20 a year or something. It's really just not that much of an expense, especially when, as you did, Michael, you pivoted, you changed what you did. Yeah. You never know what's going to happen next year, and you might need it.
Yeah. And I think also
probably your name won't change.
Yeah. Well, but Erin, I would get both.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I have both.
Okay.
I have my, Bahn is my maiden name, and then I have my married name as well. And that is your place, and just go own it. I've had mine for many years. I bought it even before I needed it. And my husband's very, very techie, so that was kind of like one of the things. And yeah, go and get it. And I think you should definitely go and get your social media handles with your name, whatever name you're really going to use. I mean, I went with my maiden name because it's mine. It's the one I was born with. I'm happy with it. My husband, has no problem with me for business being, Claire Bahn, because I was that before I met him.
Yeah.
So you could just straight go, across the board, do your maiden name, and then that is you for business for forever. That's you for business. And then get your married name just in case. But that, I think it's really important to get the stake in the ground, and you can use it or not use it. But that's one of the most important things, is to own your name.
Okay, that's huge and easy. So doing that
when
we get off the podcast. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so I know you mentioned the team. I know if people hire you, your whole team helps you out. But for an individual starting a little smaller, would you recommend hiring like a VA or somebody to help you get all this content out? Because even for us, we have somebody for our company running social, doing a lot for it, and it's full time. I mean, there's so much going on.
Yeah, I mean, I do coaching.
Yeah.
And we have like a program that we are relaunching called Foundations, where we really set up kind of the foundation for somebody, so that if they do want to, if they have somebody that wants to do this stuff, at least we basically said, okay, here's your foundation here, because a lot of people don't know how to do the deep dive and the research that you need to do, so you really know your market, because a lot of people don't know who their competitors are, or the people that they actually think are their competitors aren't really their competitors once you do a deep marketing audit, and it'd be, SWOT analysis. So that's what we do on all of our clients. And so some people come to us and they basically are just like, okay, set up my plan for me, so I kind of know what to do. Because the biggest problem that I see is that people don't have a plan, and they never make headway anywhere because they're just doing everything.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm going to comment on that. I'm going to create a blog about this. I'm going to do a video on this. And I'm like, these things have nothing to do with each other. And they're not solidifying you as an expert in anything, because they're not related.
Yeah.
So true. A lot of people come to me because they're like, I don't know. These are the things that I do. Help me figure out what my message should be, because I don't know. I mean, and literally with our private clients, a lot of these people, I mean, they have amazing resumes, they're CEOs, they're CMOs, they are investors in, multiple, venture funds and things like this. So they're very successful people, but they really don't understand how they should market themselves. And that's ultimately what we do for them. And that's like, one of the biggest things. And a lot of times you kind of need to just let the experts really just like figure it out for you, because kind of like stepping in there, but saying, but what about this? But what about that? You're like, we can't do that now. We're solidifying this first, then we can do these other things. I often find that, especially like working moms and stuff. They're always like, but I want to bring this in and this in, and my mom expertise and things like that. You're like, well, that's saturated. Let's get you here, and then we can bring that into the fold. So I think that that's one of the biggest things to think about is, you know, getting your message straight, because if you can have a VA that helps you, but if the messaging is off,
yeah, how are you going to know what
it's
to
really,
tell them to do if you don't know what you're supposed to do in the first place?
Exactly.
Because that is the hardest part. It's like, for me, I mean, I'm not on LinkedIn. I'm not anywhere. I'm just posting on Instagram and Facebook occasionally, and Twitter and TikTok. But for me, I guess my message was, I'm just finding cool stuff in the retail direct consumer world. And even though that's not I'm trying to figure it out. And I think, you know, hiring somebody like yourself, it could help me define the voice, because I think even recently, a lot of people have been kind of popping up online, and I think they became much clearer of like what they're doing and what, like, for instance, Chamath in California, he's in SF. He's a guy that is a huge investor. And I started following him, and I like all his stuff on Twitter because he's talking about investing, talking about, you know, what's going on with the governor here in California. I listened to his podcast with Jason Calacanis. What's it called? All In. And I like the brand that he built. And not to say that I'm ever going to be a billionaire investor, but what he's saying is very relatable to a lot of people, no matter what you're doing. And I think that's really hard to do by yourself unless you've been doing it for years and years and years. And obviously somebody like yourself could know that much faster and quicker than you exploring for 10 years trying to figure out your voice. And it's important. I know how important it is. And I've really tried this year, but I'm not, like, even having you on for 5 minutes, I'm like, I'm not doing enough.
Yeah.
I'm not doing enough of it.
But sometimes you are lucky that you can just be yourself and be an expert in your own way. And I feel like you are on the right track, Michael, like doing what you do normally. Like, someone might actually want to follow you doing that, but I guess polishing it up and understanding what am I actually doing besides just being myself, it will help make it faster, like you were saying.
Right. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we are constantly evolving. I mean, a lot of our private clients didn't really understand not their value, but their value to the world at large. They really didn't understand it. And I'm like, there's a lot of people that want to know your expertise. You just need to get throw your hat in the ring. And that's just basically it. So it's really figuring out what the message is, what your take on it is, how your whole brand is going to be perceived. And it is like this whole kind of, there is an element of your brand that is static, and then there is an element of your brand that is this ever evolving, and it's this constant motion. So the part of your brand that's kind of like its own thing and it sits there and it's more static would be like, your profile photos, a logo, your branding statements, things like that. Like, that's kind of like the major kind of thing that people kind of go, oh, okay, this is my gut feeling on this person. And then beyond that, it's the content you're creating and everything that's really solidifying who you are and that kind of static brand. But then that's kind of the whole personal brand. That really, and it's this ever evolving, ever changing. You have to work on it all the time. You have to be consistent with it. So for it to actually really work and give you that ROI.
Yeah. Similar to a brand of a company, but also probably different to manage and treating it differently. Like, marketing a company and a product is different than marketing yourself, or it's hard. Maybe it's harder to market yourself because
you market like a brand,
Dope Dog all the time, but you're not thinking about yourself as a product that way. But
I think that what is also changing really, and I think you're kind of seeing this is definitely with like the tech billionaires and some of these people, like they're become the cult of personality, right? So many, if you kind of think about the fact that people want to get behind a person, they want to believe in the person, they believe their story, that they started from zero and now they're here and that kind of thing. And that's the cult of personality. So that's your personal brand. People are going to get behind people. They're not going to get behind a faceless entity. No one's people kind of like Tesla, but they really like Elon. And then Tesla, and then you have SpaceX. You have all these like things that go on with it. But they really like Elon Musk and his story. and that's
But
an important thing that you can't really, and that's just the thing that a personal brand really creates.
is it different though for like Elon and like Steve Jobs or Tim, whoever it is behind the bigger companies? Is it more of the media pushing them and then instead of their personal brand? Because I feel like Elon, obviously, I mean, he posts a lot of memes on Twitter and everything like that. But for somebody normal, how do you get to the point where you can differentiate yourself from what you're doing to what, you want to do personally? Because I struggle with it. I struggle with that identity of what you want to be and what you want to show the world. And sometimes you overthink what you want to show people. Are you allowed? Do you just want to say these random things for like a flair on Twitter to get people like angry or happy to whatever you're saying? It is such a balancing act now. And I don't know. I overthink it. Obviously, I'm just, venting here.
A personal brand is really, on Tuesday, I was actually interviewed about kind of like how your personal brand can help you kind of future-proof your career. So your personal brand can really be used to do so many things, but it really just depends on who you are and what you're doing. So say you're like a freelancer or someone like that, obviously showcasing your work and how great you are so that you can get that next gig. If you are looking to get hired for a job or get a promotion, again, solidifying your expertise in that you are amazing and you have a lot of wealth of knowledge. And it could also help, especially if you're an executive or something like that, can help you get press. Because you come up as an expert on this particular piece, industry or area or whatever. So when you're talking about getting press and things like that, it happens because a lot of people have solidified their personal brand and they're able to get that press. It's hard in the world to get anyone to take any notice of you, any journalist or anything, if there's nothing about you that shows that you're special, that you know anything, that you're an expert in anything. So that's going to be done by your personal brand. So I think thinking about it, especially looking at like, Elon now and a lot of these people now, it was really always kind of this work behind the scenes. That's kind of like what a lot of the personal branding is. It's behind the scenes. It's kind of like the non-sexy work. It's like working on the SEO and how we're going to keyword and what we're going to be ranking for and what is our strategy behind what we're going to tweet about, instead of just being like, oh, you know what? I had tortilla soup today, which I did.
Dogecoin to the moon. Yeah.
So instead of it being kind of like random, I feel like once you're a celebrity and once you're known, people like that randomness, but when you're not,
create it.
You can be random when you're famous. Don't be random when you start.
That's a good
so
point.
I think that's one of the biggest things. You need to know what you want to get from your career, from your business, whatever it is, and that is what your personal brand can do for you. And again, it can totally change. I mean, it's changed for me. My clairebahn.com originally was more lifestyle. I did a lot of lifestyle stuff. And so I've pivoted to make this, again, all about personal branding. Because people wanted to get behind me as the one that personally brands them instead of the business. Because we had a business name for a long time and that was not resonating with people. It was me that was resonating with people. People want to work with me, not the brand name. And that's just ultimately it. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I talk about and everything is because I've actually done it and things have failed. I mean, that's how we've all learned. I'm not just sitting here and just be like, this will work and it's perfect every time. I mean, we're trying everything with our clients. I mean, I'm usually the guinea pig. I'm the one trying everything before I make them jump into anything. I was one of the first ones that, because we were talking about Clubhouse, I jumped into Clubhouse, and then I've actually invited some of my clients because I'm like, you need to be in here. This will help you. So yeah, I'm the one that usually is testing everything to figure out what works and what doesn't. So it's always an ever evolving thing. That's kind of the hard answer. There is no magic bullet. There is no secret sauce. It's literally, you have to find out why you're special, why someone should care, what's your special thing that your personal brand should be about.
And with the free masterclass on your website, what does that kind of go through after you finish? Is it kind of all encompassing what the steps you should do, or just?
It really outlines kind of like the basics.
Mhm.
And like owning your name is one of them, and I kind of give you tips on how to do that. And yeah, it's really just outlining the basics of getting your personal brand done. And it's surprising. I've never met anybody that had a great personal brand when they started with me. I really have not.
Well, that's what they're
They
coming
have
to,
things that are
right?
pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they have things that are like pretty good. And I'm like, well, your messaging should definitely be much more focused. And I
Mhm.
think this is where, you're going to actually be able to go with it. But yeah, that's what I think one of the most surprising things is that, you know, yeah, I feel like, Michael, you're kind of beating yourself up like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm not doing this perfectly. And I should have known I should have been in LinkedIn. You know what? You
Yeah.
don't know what you don't know. Start
Exactly. Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Start now.
Mhm.
There's nothing that's stopping you from doing that. And all of the people that you look at that you may say, oh my God, I love the things that they're doing. They started somewhere. They started from
Sure.
something. They didn't just end up here right now. They didn't start like yesterday and now they're perfect.
Yeah.
And now they're making billions of dollars. Like it started from something.
Yeah.
And that's the thing to really think about. It's just, I mean, like we've all seen those kind of like things where like, your path is not like this. It's like this,
Yeah.
down,
Yeah,
up,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's our path. So you just have to kind of figure out your thing, but there's no time like the present. Like Aaron, like after
Yeah.
this, go
Get
and
it.
get your
Buying it
name.
right
Go and
now.
get your
Ordering
name.
the domain.
Do we have to be a billionaire to work with you? Can anybody sign up?
I mean, I have kind of like different
Might be
things that I
helpful.
offer. I have private coaching,
Okay.
and then we have our programs, the kind of the boutique programs that we offer, which are kind of that's the concierge program where we do everything for you. That one is definitely a much higher priced thing. So, it's not for the faint at heart, but we do everything for you. And we, basically Gary V you essentially. But then, I have the foundations where people kind of hire me to say, okay, lay down the foundation and then I can at least have somewhere to go.
Okay.
So those are kind of our two programs that we offer. But then I also have, coaching and things like that. If you kind of like need a little bit of help, a little bit of guidance.
Cool. Well,
Awesome.
I'm definitely going to hire you because I want to get my personal brand. So everybody go to clairebond.com.
Awesome.
Do you want to ask the question this time?
Well, I wanted to make sure you got all your questions in
Yes,
about the
I had a
personal
lot.
brand, but now we're probably going to work with Claire. So great. But you seem to have it all figured out, but you're on the Call Me Crazy podcast. So we need to hear your Call Me Crazy story. When did you, make a choice in business or life where people kind of took a second look at you and were like, are you crazy, Claire?
I think, isn't any entrepreneur crazy?
Pretty much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's been like one of the biggest things is that, yeah, people have called me crazy for that. Because there is no safety net.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that's been like one of the biggest things. And it's actually interesting and it's kind of a thankless thing. And a lot of times, you're kind of like, man, I wish I had some recognition for the hard work. And I actually had my aunt. And she's like, you know what? She's like, baby, I'm so proud of you. Like, she's like, I've seen this like long slog that you have been going through. And I just want you to know that I'm so proud. I'm so proud that you've been able to accomplish these things, that you've been asked to speak at these things. And so that's just, that's been one of the crazy things is being a freaking entrepreneur. People think it's easy because they're like, oh, they look at the billionaires and they look at some of these people that started companies and you're like, how many fail?
Yeah.
90 something %. So many fail. And they're definitely not going to become unicorns. So you can't get into this unless you are crazy and you eat, sleep, and breathe, your own thing. It's not for people that really need, if you need a safety net, this is not your spot.
Yeah.
At all.
And that's why we called the podcast Call Me Crazy. I started a business because it is crazy starting a business. You don't know where it's going to go. You don't know if it's going to be successful. And you don't know, what the next thing is going to be if you sell it or you move on or what's next. And it's terrifying. And I think the people that are working 9-to-5 jobs don't realize that as much. And I think it's really hard to not have a conversation with them about it, but they don't understand what you're doing all the time when it's 24 hours. It's like, this is my job.
When it's just you or like the two of you, you essentially have to be everyone that your corporation was.
Yeah.
You have to be the
Basically.
marketer, the PR person, the accountant. I mean, the tech person dealing with tech stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to be everything until a point where you can start hiring experts and be like, oh, thank God I can offload that because I am not
Yes.
an expert in
Yeah.
Yeah.
that. And that's like one of the biggest things. People think that it's a lot easier than it is. And I mean, yeah, I mean, and I have a co-founder that literally like his strong suits are not mine and vice versa. So we really complement each other in the fact that we can really be a corporation with the two of us because we have such like he's like techie and he's accountant, he's an MBA, like that kind of thing, and I'm more creative and all of these kind of things, and we go together and we're just like, here's our business.
Yeah.
But that's just essentially it. If you're doing it by yourself, for a while you literally will have to be everything. And that's what's really hard, and people don't understand, and they think it's easy, and it's not
Yeah,
at all.
it's wild. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for coming on.
Yeah,
clairebahn.com.
thank you.
And then the free masterclass is up there, right? Just you can just click
Yes.
free masterclass and get that.
Yep.
Cool.
Mhm.
I love it. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you,
on.
Claire.
Thank you so much for having me.